Mookie Blaylock might not be the first name that pops up when discussing NBA legends, but for basketball fans who watched the game in the late 80s and 90s, he was something special. A defensive menace with quick hands and a decent outside shot. Blaylock carved out a solid 13-year career that deserves more recognition than it typically receives. Born in Garland, Texas, Daron O'Shea Mookie Blaylock first made waves at the University of Oklahoma before being drafted by the New Jersey Nets in 1989. But it was with the Atlanta Hawks where he truly made his mark, spending 7 seasons as the floor general and defensive anchor. What made Blaylock stand out? For starters, his defense was elite. He made the NBA All-Defensive First Team twice and Second Team 4 times. Those quick hands weren't just for show. Blaylock led the league in steals twice and regularly ranked among the top ball hawks in the NBA. When opponents saw Mookie guard him, they knew they were in for a long night. But he wasn't just a defensive specialist. Blaylock had game on the offensive end too, particularly from beyond the arc. He could hit the three with consistency, and in the 1996-97 season, he set what was then a Hawks franchise record with 231 three-pointers. See, that's impressive even in today's standards. But in an era when the three ball wasn't nearly as prevalent as it is now, that was something special. Blaylock made the All-Star team in 1994, though many fans and analysts believed he deserved more appearances. He was often overshadowed by flashier point guards of this era, but coaches and players knew his value. From 1987 to 1989, Blaylock transformed from a junior college transfer into one of the most electrifying players in Oklahoma Sooners history. Blaylock arrived in Norman after 2 years at Midland College, where he had already established himself as a junior college star. From the moment he stepped onto the court for the Sooners, Blaylock made his presence felt, playing under head coach Billy Tubbs in his fast-paced, high-scoring system. Mookie found the perfect environment for his talents. Oklahoma's Billy Ball style was all about pressure defense, quick transitions, and pushing the pace, elements that suited Blaylock's strengths. During the 1987-88 season, his junior year, Blaylock formed a devastating backcourt duo with Ricky Grace. The two guards terrorized opponents with their defensive pressure and ability to create turnovers. That season, the Sooners were an offensive juggernaut, regularly scoring in the hundreds, and even dropping 150 points on Centenary College, still an NCAA record against a D1 opponent. What made that 87-88 team special was their tournament run, with Blaylock orchestrating the offense and wreaking havoc on defense. Oklahoma stormed to the NCAA Tournament Final Four and ultimately the national championship game, though they fell to Kansas in the final. Blaylock's performance throughout the tournament put him on the national radar. His senior season was even more impressive on an individual level. Blaylock averaged 20.5 points, 4.5 rebounds, 6 assists, and an eye-popping 3.8 steals per game. Those steals numbers weren't just good, they were historically great. By the time he left Oklahoma, Blaylock had established himself as one of the greatest players in program history. He was even named to the All-Big 8 first team twice and earned All-American honors in his senior year. His defensive prowess was recognized when he was named the nation's Defensive Player of the Year. When Mookie Blaylock first stepped onto an NBA court with the New Jersey Nets in 1989, nobody quite knew what to expect from the 12th overall pick. Fresh from his stellar career at Oklahoma, Blaylock brought his defensive intensity and quick hands to a Nets team that desperately needed a spark. Blaylock's rookie season with the Nets was a bit of a mixed bag, as it is for most first-year players. He was not immediately handed the keys to the offense, starting just 26 of his 69 games he played. Still, he showed flashes of what would eventually make him special in the league, averaging 10.1 points, 4.2 assists, and 2.3 steals per game. The 1991 season saw Blaylock take a significant step forward as he settled into his role with the Nets. He became the team's full-time starting point guard and responded by bumping his numbers up across the board. 14.1 points, 6.1 assists, and 2.2 steals per game. By his third and final season with the Nets in 91-92, Blaylock had established himself as a solid NBA point guard with an exceptional defensive gift. He continued his development, averaging 13.8 points, 6.8 assists, and 2 steals a game. The Nets team during Blaylock's tenure were not exactly powerhouses. They made the playoffs in 1992, but were quickly eliminated by the Cleveland Cavaliers in the first round. Still, Blaylock was a bright spot, showcasing his ability to impact games on both ends of the floor. What's fascinating about Blaylock's time with the Nets is that while he was developing into a quality NBA player, it became clear that his true potential might be better realized elsewhere. The Nets had drafted Kenny Anderson with the number 2 overall pick in 1991, creating something of a logjam at the point guard position. This ultimately led to Blaylock being traded to the Atlanta Hawks in 1992, where he would go on to have the best years of his career. If you want to talk about Mookie Blaylock at his absolute peak, you've got to focus on his time with the Atlanta Hawks. After being traded from the New Jersey Nets in 1992, Blaylock arrived in Atlanta and almost immediately established himself as one of the most disruptive defensive forces in the NBA. Right from the jump in the 92-93 season, Blaylock meshed perfectly with his Hawks system. Coach Lenny Wilkens gave him the freedom to play his natural game, and Mookie responded by averaging 13.4 points, 8.4 assists, and a league-leading 2.5 steals per game. What made the Hawks' year so special was watching Blaylock evolve into a more complete player. His defense was always elite. Those quick hands and anticipation skills kept getting better. He made the NBA All-Defensive Team 6 times during his Atlanta tenure, including 2 first-team selections. But it wasn't just the defense that improved. Blaylock's offensive game took significant strides in Atlanta. He developed into a legitimate three-point threat, which was somewhat unusual for point guards in that era. The 1995-96 season saw him hit 231 three-pointers, which was a Hawks record at the time. He had this smooth, confident stroke from beyond the arc that added a whole new dimension to his game. The 93-94 season was arguably Blaylock's finest hour. He averaged 13.8 points, 9.7 assists, and 2.6 steals, and made his lone All-Star appearance. Many Hawks fans will tell you he deserved more All-Star nods, but Blaylock played in an era loaded with incredible point guards like John Stockton, Gary Payton, and Tim Hardaway. The Hawks teams of the mid-90s were consistently good, if not quite championship contenders. With Blaylock running the point, Steve Smith at shooting guard, and big men like Christian Laettner and later Dikembe Mutombo, Atlanta made the playoffs in 6 of Blaylock's 7 seasons. They reached the Eastern Conference semifinals twice, but could not break through to the conference finals. What often gets overlooked about Blaylock's time in Atlanta was his durability. During his peak years, he rarely missed games, regularly playing 80-plus games per season. That kind of consistency allowed him to rack up impressive career numbers. He finished with 2,075 steals, placing him among the all-time leaders in that category. By the time the Hawks traded Blaylock to the Golden State Warriors in 1999, he cemented his legacy as one of the greatest players in franchise history. When Mookie Blaylock arrived in Oakland in the summer of 1999, Warrior fans were not quite sure what they were getting. At 32 years old, was he the defensive dynamo who had terrorized opponents for years in Atlanta, or was he the veteran on the decline? As it turned out, they got a bit of both during his 3-season stint with Golden State. The 1999-2000 season, Mookie's first with the Warriors, showed he still had plenty left in the tank. While his offensive numbers dipped a bit to 11.5 points per game, he continued to do what he did best, create havoc on defense. He averaged 2.3 steals per game that season, proving his quick hands hadn't slowed down much with age. What made his first Warrior season interesting was watching Blaylock adjust to a different role. The Warriors were not contenders like the Hawks teams that had been. They were in a rebuilding mode. Suddenly, Mookie found himself as the veteran mentor to younger players like Antoine Jamison and Larry Hughes. The 2000-2001 season marked the beginning of a noticeable decline for Blaylock. His minutes dropped from 35.6 to 27.3 per game, and his production followed suit. He averaged 7.3 points, 3.9 assists, and 1.7 steals, all career lows since his rookie season. Injuries began to take their toll, limiting him to just 54 games. For a player who had been remarkably durable throughout his career, these physical setbacks must have been frustrating. By his final season, in the 2000-2002 season, Blaylock's role had diminished even further. He appeared in just 38 games, starting just 4 of them, with his minutes cut to 19.5 per game. His final NBA season stats, 4.5 points, 2.5 assists, and 1 steal, were a far cry from his peak years. The Warriors released him in March of 2002, effectively ending his 13-year NBA career. When Mookie Blaylock walked off the NBA court for the final time in 2002, he left behind a legacy as one of the premier defensive guards of his generation. His Golden State years may not have been the highlight of his career, but they were an important epilogue to the story of a player who had made his mark not through flashy dunks or scoring explosions, but through tenacious defense and intelligent play. What's particularly fascinating about Blaylock is his cultural impact beyond basketball. Did you know that Pearl Jam was briefly named Mookie Blaylock before they had become, well, Pearl Jam? The band members were huge basketball fans and admired his play so much that they named their band after him. Even after changing their name, they titled their debut album 10 as a nod to Blaylock's jersey number. Mookie's career might not have resulted in championship rings or a Hall of Fame induction, but his impact on the game was significant. He embodied the gritty, defensive-minded approach that defined much of the 90s basketball, and for that, he deserves to be remembered as more than just a footnote in NBA history. When we talk about the best defensive guards in NBA history, Mookie Blaylock's name should be in the conversation. Sometimes the players who do not make the highlight reels every night are the ones who truly help their teams win, and Mookie was definitely one of those players. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate you guys. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video and stay safe.